Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and this time around we are taking a look at the last of the currently available core class figures. This is Skywarp. And of course we'll go ahead and get the elephant out of the room by saying the obvious. Yes, Skywarp here is basically a repaint of the Kingdom version of Starscream. But of course that goes along with a long-standing history of the toy, as here is his Skywarp's Generation 1 figure, and it also was a recoloring of Starscream. And for the benefit of those who haven't been around with the Transformers all this time, Skywarp was originally released back in 1984. He was among the first of the Seekers that would be released. The Seekers, of course, refers to the Decepticon planes, as they were almost a subgroup amongst themselves. They were basically the bulk of Megatron's troopers. Skywarp here was the dumbest of the three, as it was said in his tech spec bio that he was pretty much useless without direct supervision from Megatron, or probably also Starscream, since Starscream was his immediate superior. Skywarp would be one of them that would be killed off in the events of the 1986 animated movie, and he would find himself reformatted, although it's still debated to this day whether it was Skywarp or Bombshell that would be reformatted into Cyclonus. Now, as we've stated before on the previous other toys of Iguanus and Hot Rod, Skywarp's weapon here can be merged with the other two weapons to form a large sword. Of course, Skywarp's forms the bottom of the sword. Iguanus's gun goes next, and then at the top, you would attach Hot Rod's sword. And then there you have it. Skywarp has a very big sword. For the honor of Galvatron. Nah, Galvatron doesn't have that either. Now we'll take a look here at Skywarp's lone accessory. That is his weapon, which many fans have described as a tuning fork. In a lot of ways, it does look like a tuning fork. At any rate, let's take a look at Skywarp's articulation. And his would be about the same. His would be the same as it was with Starscream. You can turn his head from side to side. It is not on a ball joint, so it will not move up and down. His arms can be raised up about so far. And you can rotate his arms all the way around. You'll have to shift it a bit because the wing gets in the way. You can bend his arm at the elbow 90 degrees. And while it is a bit stiff, he does have a swivel at the bicep. He cannot be twisted at the hips. You can spread his legs apart into a full splits. His legs do pop off very easily. Get back in there. He does not apparently have a thigh cut. There we go again. Back in you go. You can raise his leg at the hip 90 degrees, and you can bend his leg at the knee 90 degrees. Now, let's all pretend we did not see that. We're going to have a little fun here on the channel. Now, of course, to transform Skywarp, it's exactly like you did for Starscream. We gotta start by folding his wings all the way to the back so they stay out of our way. And next, his shoulder, the front panels on his chest should shift out. This one should start first because the cockpit overlays. So shift those open like so. Then once we got that, you can fold his head downwards. Try to keep it down and straight a bit. So next we're going to bring up the nose of the airplane and shift it so we get it somewhat precisely lined up in between his shoulder blades there. Now the instructions say keep it downward, but if you're good at aligning, then it should be fine. Come down here and bend his legs downwards. We're going to shift his arms a bit out of our way because this section here, the back section, totally rotates around like so. Just exactly like that. Then we come back here to his legs. You're going to put his legs together. And then we will fold them up and lock them into place at the rear of the plane. Then you can come back here to the front and we can adjust the nose cone section so that it gets it lined up with the front of the plane. They recommend down here you rotate Skywarp's head all the way around so that way when we fold it up it hides his face inside the plane. And then we can come back down here and then you can fold his chest plate back together down here so it brings his arms in. And we're going to come down here to his arms. You're going to rotate the fists so that his fists would face inwards. This is mainly so it raises up these posts, because these posts are going to be aligned and connected to the holes on his wings. So that way it will hold his arms in place. Then we come back here to his back to his legs again. You're going to fold out these purple sections to form the tail fins. And then you fold down the black wings to the side to complete the look. And then, of course, we can come down here to the front of his nose, to the nose of the plane, and you would attach the tuning fork. And there you have it. Skywarp in his alternate mode of a fighter jet. More specifically, he's intended to resemble an F-15 Eagle. And of course, if you want to play with him in flight, he does swoosh pretty good. Although I wouldn't recommend holding him by the wing like that. And of course, for comparison's sake, there is his Generation 1 toy, Steady Camera, in its alternate mode, where it could be a real F-15 fighter jet. All in all, it looks pretty good. Now we get to my thoughts. Skywarp was inevitable, as will be a lot of the other Seekers, Thundercracker, Dirge, Ramjet, and Thrust. Since basically, to do them, they're just basically going to repaint, and in the case of the latter three, retool Starscream so that they kind of look like how they're supposed to look. It's inevitable. Although we're probably more than likely going to get Acid Storm, Ion Storm, and Nova Storm. Maybe even Sunstorm, since they all shared the same exact mold. At the moment, none of them have been announced yet. But it would not be a surprise if some of them are in the pipeline. Or if somebody buys up a bunch of extra stock of Skywarp or Starscream and paints them up. At any rate, it is nice to have another one of the Seekers along. That way we can slowly start building up an army of Decepticons. However, as I stated earlier, especially during the Kingdom line, it would be nice if we would get some more Autobots. Since the big thing they're supposed to be compatible with is the Arc playset, and that was the Autobot base. So it would be nice if they'd make a few Autobots so that Optimus and Hot Rod aren't covering the place by themselves. At any rate, that's my look at the Legacy version of Skywarp. I hope you all enjoyed it. And remember, if you do like the content that we display here on this channel, please do remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We do appreciate the feedback. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.